Okay. Maseches Bava Metzia. Yay. We're in the second Amud of Perek Ravi, the fourth Perek of Bava Metzia. Daled, Mem Daled Amud Beis. We are actually in the second line of the page. Let's do a small recap, review, revise, and repeat. So basically, we said as follows: in the term of Kinyan Meshicha, yeah, when one buys metaltalin, when one buys merchandise, yeah, see merchandise here, right? Merchandise. When one acquires merchandise, how does it go? What is the point of no return? What actually makes the deal a real deal that you cannot regret? The point of no regret is when you pull the item being sold, the tomatoes, the potatoes, the computer, or the socks, or the whatever you want, the ticho, whatever you buy, when you pull that or pick it up, that's when it's a done deal. Not when you give the money. Money is not what buys you love or metaltalin. Yeah, money is something that is owed after you bought the metaltalin. Now, when it comes to different types of currencies, then, said the Mishnah, when you exchange one currency for the other, which one is considered to be the goods, the merchandise, and which one is considered to be the coin or the currency? And that makes a heck of a lot of a difference, because the question is, yeah, when are you committed? When you pulled which one, the silver coins or the golden coins? That's a question. So I wouldn't say it's a machlokes, but we definitely see two opinions. The Mishnah says, Azov koines kesef. What does it mean, Azov koines kesef? The gold coins are the ones that acquire the kesef, which means once you pull the gold coins, you're done. That's it. It's a done deal. Why? Because gold is looked at as a merchandise. And that's what the Mishnah says. And that's what Rebbe said at the end of his laugh. Yeah, that the gold is the merchandise and the silver is the currency. That is what Rebbe said, also the Mishnah. When Rebbe was young, then Rebbe said the other way around. Rebbe had an opposite svara. Rebbe said, no, gold is the currency and silver is the coin. Okay? Now, the question is why? We have two very strong svaras. We have two, I don't know why yesterday you're grappling with it. Maybe you can let me know today. Basically, each one has a plus and a minus, a pro and a con. Gold is worth more. So people would like to have more of it. Gold, yeah, also the gold coins were thicker than the silver coins. Tosa says, yeah, as you said very nicely, it's worth 25 times more. So gold, who doesn't want gold? Therefore, gold is worth more. I assume gold is the potentially preferable coin. Not everybody has it, but it's a better coin. I'd love to have gold because it's worth more. It's worth more. Yeah. On the other hand, it's better commodity, whatever. Or on the other hand, you can say, no, Lamaisa, not everyone is a Rothschild. And therefore, but Lamaisa world, the matbea of kesef, the silver coin, is more harif. More harif means what? It's more picanti. It is something that's more exchangeable. It's something more accepted by the greengrocer, accepted in the bank, accepted in the wherever, in the money changer, accepted in the shop, in the market. And that's what our Mishnah thinks. Therefore, we said that the silver is the coin. Silver is the currency because it's more common, more accepted, more publicly known. These are basically the two tzodim. And today, the entire page, we're going to play around with that power struggle. Who is the winner, the gold or the silver? Which one is considered to be the currency, and which one is the commodity, merchandise, goods, or as the Gemara calls it, pera. Pera means fruit in English. Did you know that? Yeah. Oh, now you do. What? Okay. Also, cows are also acquired. Yeah. Weiter. Omar Vashi. Says Vashi as follows, and I also Tzvi rose and an answer. What happens at different locations? The Choyro, yeah, when you go to Zimbabwe, then the Zimbabwe money is more accepted than the shekels and vice versa. So that will also be discussed today. Omar Vashi. Says Vashi now. Ki say mistabra. Makes more sense to me that what Rebbe learned as a young man, that makes more sense. Meaning what? That which one is the coin? When he was young, remember, he said young gold, GG, young gold. When he was young, he thought that gold is the currency, is the coin, is, yeah, the buying power is of gold, and the silver is the item you buy for the gold. Okay? So now, makes more sense like that. Why? Look at our Mishnah. And Rashi also points out, he learned it from Rabbi Meir. Rebbe learned from Rabbi Meir. Stam Mishnah Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir was the Rebbe of Rebbe. Why does it make more sense to say that gold is the currency? We're going to see now by reading again the Mishnah with a fresh look offered by the Gemara we're going to read right now. Bidiktani, look what the Mishnah says. You don't have to go back to the Mishnah if you don't want, it's quoted here. Oh, number 3. Who's number 3 in the Olympics? The copper. The copper is koines hakesef. After we said already that Zov and gold in our Mishnah, we said silver and gold, gold, silver. We say that the gold, that the gold is koines azov. Then we say that the nechoishes also comparing to silver. Which one is a currency? Silver. Very good. Silver is a currency. Silver in the Mishnah was number 1. He won over Zahav and nechoishes. Oh, by the way, I want to not exactly correct what I said. I want to add. I told you yesterday, what about the runner-up? What about number 2? Yeah. So we saw, I told you quite clearly that the Zahav wins over Nechoishes. What happens if they have Zahav and Nechoishes? You want to buy golden coin to exchange it for many, many small copper coins. It's a big machlokes Rishonim. I only saw one side, and yesterday I saw the other side. Big groups of Rishonim. You are always correct, Ellen. You never fail. So then I'll tell you what he said. Basically, there's a machlokes. Some people say that the Zahav is, at the end of the day, worth more than the Nechoishes, right? So being that neither Zahav or Nechoishes are so exciting when it comes to practical use, Charifus, then you go by the value. Zahav is the one. Gold is more than the Nechoishes. On the other hand, we're going to see soon in the Gemara, Nechoishes is actually quite commonly used. Could be it's by poor people, by the villages, by small items, says the Ritva. Nechoishes, the copper, is also very common. So Mimela, because Nechoishes is more commonly used than Zahav, then we say Nechoishes is the winner. Then we already have a Machlokes Rishonim. Let's leave that aside for now, and let's continue now to the Gemara. Let's read the Mishnah again. And Nechoishes koines hakesef. So we said Nechoishes vis-a-vis silver, then Nechoishes is the goods, and silver is the money. I omad bishlama. If you want to tell me kaspa legabe dava perahavi. If you want to say like young Rebbe saying what? That kaspa, silver versus gold, we say that the kaspa is pera, the silver is the merchandise. Okay. Then hainu daktani, now it makes sense to say anichoishes koines hakesef. Comes a chiddush and tells me that what? The nechoishes really koines hakesef, nechoishes vis-a-vis silver is considered merchandise, and that's a chiddush. Look at that. The afal pi, even though it's all relative. Albert Einstein is happy today. Even though the legabe dahava perahavia, even though silver vis-a-vis gold, silver is what is considered as the merchandise. The silver is the merchandise vis-a-vis gold because gold is worth more. Nevertheless, legabe nechoishes tivahavi. When it comes to nechoishes, here silver is wearing a different hat, and vis-a-vis nechoishes, silver is considered to be the money, the currency, which, by the way, makes a lot of sense because we only go by value. We go by value, not by how common it's used in the markolet of the moshav. We go by who's worth more. Then very good. Number 1 is Zahav, and that sort of buys the silver. Silver, in his turn, comparing to nechoishes, is considered to be the stronger currency. Very good. But Lamaisa, it's a chiddush. It's a chiddush because silver is wearing 2 different hats. Comparing to gold, silver is merchandise. Comparing to nechoishes, to copper, silver is the money, the currency. So here we have a nice chiddush in the Mishnah. The Mishnah is not a newspaper; it's mechadish. Elai Omart. But if you want to tell me like what, like old Rebbe in our version of the Mishnah, that kaspa legabe dahava tivahavi. If you want to tell me that silver, in spite of being cheaper by nature, is what is considered to be the what? The currency because it's more common, it's more commonly used. If so, hashta legabe, what's the chiddush then? Hashta now, legabe dahava dechoshiv minei amar tivahavi. If little silver managed to win over the Zahav, the Maccabees and the Greek, the silver managed to, even though the silver is worth less, we still say the silver is a currency because it's more accepted. Okay, legabe nechoishes. So silver vis-a-vis nechoishes, and at this point, the Gemara thinks that nechoishes is not commonly used. If so, nechoishes, silver versus nechoshes, that's a non-brainer. It's a non-starter. Diu choshiv, bayu chorif. Boy, in other words, silver vis-a-vis nechoshes has two advantages. What are the advantages? It's worth more and more commonly used, which is the truth. Then boy, then you have to tell me that. Of course, what's the chiddush? Again, you hear the question? If you're telling me that silver vis-a-vis gold, yeah, the way you want to say it now, silver, although it's worthless, but on the other hand, there is a mila, there's an advantage that it's more exchangeable, more sachir, more of a going thing. Oh, then the silver one. Then avada silver vis-a-vis nechoshes, yeah, there's no point of the top team of NBA fighting some little kids league 5 years old. What's a question? What's a game, b'chlal? Avada, that the silver that has both mile of being worth more than copper and more accepted in the shops and more used in the banks than copper, avada, it's considered as money. Then what's the chiddush? No questions now. That's the Gemara's elamai, must be. He was right when he was young. Must be it's true. The what? The one who buys, the one who's more choshev is the gold. Gold versus silver. Gold is the money. And still, vis-a-vis nechoshes, silver is the money. That's a chiddush. Because silver is different every time, right? Depends only on the value. Answers the Gemara. Thank you for your patience. Answers the Gemara. No, itzrich. Oh, and here we come to the big story here. There are about 3 different ways to read the Gemara I'm about to tell you now. I'll make a fusion of all of them. Answers the Gemara like this. Yes, there is a chiddush. There is a point of chiddush, yeah, to tell me that silver is considered to be a coin, yeah, and copper is not a coin. Copper is merchandise. And yes, there is a new point here, whichever way you read, regardless of gold. There is a chiddush of itself. Why? Salke daita chamina. I would have thought, hani priti, now priti is very pretty. Priti are prutot, is a cheap kind of currency, which are usually made out of nechoshes. One would have said, you're looking in nechoshes, assuming that nechoshes, copper, is what? Is just something very cheap and not accepted? Uh-oh. The asa, the sagye, in the places, yeah, maybe the more rural places, not in the fancy banks of Switzerland, in the places where they buy small stuff, I'm explaining according to the Ritva, the sagye, where they go, where they're accepted, inu charifit kaspa, they go better than silver. Wow. In other words, in certain places in the universe, or maybe certain places in a country, we have to know how far we go, some places copper is accepted. And when it's accepted, it's a winner. There's a statement, in my own village, I'm the king, yeah, right? In other words, the copper, yeah, where it goes even better than silver. People may not have so much money for silver, like you were saying, or they just buy small stuff. Ema, one would have thought, Tiva Havi, if so, silver against a copper, maybe at least, here comes a huge question. I'm following one way now. One would say, maybe all over the country, what? Nechoshes is considered as a currency, because in certain places in the country, nechoshes goes bigger, better, higher, not high, yeah, more accepted. So maybe really nechoshes versus silver, really nechoshes should be the matbea, should be the currency, because in some places it goes really well. Kamash malan comes the answer of the Mishnah. Opa, it's a chiddush. Came in the ikaduchta the loy sagibe, because in some places copper is not accepted at all. You go to the nice bank in Tel Aviv or Jerusalem, you go to those places, you go to the fancier places or whatever, some places absolutely not accepted. Nechoshes, where do you think you come from? B'Shemesh village? No nechoshes by us. It doesn't go at all. Therefore, Peirahavi. Therefore, nechoshes, here's a big question. Nechoshes throughout the country is always considered Peira, is considered the merchandise and not considered the currency, according to some Rishonim, even in the place where it's more accepted. Wow. Because Lemaisa, although it's a machloikis, and that's your answer, Tzvi, there is really no answer. In other words, some people learn this Gemara to be saying as follows. They say, because in some places nechoshes is not at all accepted, then it's not, then in those places where it's not accepted, it's not a coin. And some say, even in the places where nechoshes is accepted, in the Ritva, it's mashma like that. Even in the places where it is accepted, it's not called a coin. Really, silver is the coin. Everyone's going to ask why. Why are we enforcing this capitalist thing over the small villages, let's say? I'll tell you why. Says the Ritva, really, people would like to use silver. They use the nechoshes for small stuff, for dvorim dakin. Yeah, in other words, when you want to, there's a kid selling, it doesn't have the credit card, which is very easy today. A kid selling some small thing in a used toy. You want to buy your grandson some toy or the arova. Yeah, you're not going to give him a 200 shekels. You're not going to give him a euro. He's never seen it in his life. He won't accept it. Maybe he would if he's smart enough. Yeah. In other words, for the small stuff, you don't start coming to people with a British pound. Yeah, $100, whatever, 50 a British pound note to buy something small in the market in Israel. And therefore, the etzem, they would have yes liked to use the pound. They would have yes liked to use the big one, the silver. But for the small stuff, it doesn't go. Therefore, because generally speaking, if I remember correctly, the Ritva, silver is really what's made to be kesef. Silver is the real, it's not just because of social norms. Even in those places where they use nechoshes, they would have liked to use kesef. Kesef intrinsically, essentially, is more money. Money means kesef and silver. Therefore, so that according to at least some Rishonim, it overrides the whole scene, and silver always beats everybody, according to this way of the Gemara, both nechoshes and zov, it's always considered to be the kesef. I looked up Shulchan Aruch because I wanted to get clarity, and I didn't. But Shulchan Aruch does say one thing which applies today. Imam talks like today's reality. What would be if you go to a country and you offer them money that in that country they don't accept unless you change it? Money changes that apparently existed already in the times of Shulchan Aruch, already in the times of the Mishnah. And the answer is the one that's a foreign currency, which you cannot pay in the makolet, you can only go to the money changer. That is always called a fruit. So in Eretz Yisrael, if you want to, I don't know, dollar maybe goes everywhere. You want a British pound? Yeah. You want to exchange British pounds for shekels? You should know that if you still want to regret, what should you do? First first take the shekels because that doesn't set it, right? Then you're not yet mechuyev. Don't give the pounds. Once you give the pounds, which is the fruit, you're done. That's it. Then you are over and done with. That's what the Shulchan Aruch says. Yeah. Question time. Please find out what's the currency of North Korea. Okay. One of the questions I like the most is when people ask me to repeat. Seriously, no, that's just that very good. The nafkamina is again, when you pull the fruit, or when you pick up the fruit, let's assume now we have this new piece of knowledge. The dollars in Israel, dollars are very accepted. That pounds, let's say, or I don't know, Canadian dollars. Yeah, you want to buy something in Israel, Canadian dollar. You want to buy shekels for Canadian dollars. The Canadian dollar is the fruit. So therefore, if you picked up the Canadian dollars, you pulled them, did something with them, then you're chayiv. The one who wants to buy the Canadian dollars, what about him? He is mechuyev. Why? Because when you pull the fruit, the schor, the merchandise stuff, that's it. You're done. It's a done deal, and you can't regret. That's a huge nafkamina. You can't now go out of the shop and say, I want to buy somewhere else. I do that. I mean, I don't do that against halacha, but people shop around for the best price, right? When you want to change your pounds. Sometimes there's a big difference, 20 or 30 shekels, yeah. So therefore, if you want to shop around, I don't know halacha l'maisa, maybe today the norm changed, but conceptually, if you have your Canadian dollars, which are not accepted in Israel, considered as fruit, then you should know, once you did meshicha or gbot to the Canadian dollars, then what? You're done. You're mechuyev to continue the deal, whether you like it or not. Masha'en ken, if the shekel in Israel is the currency, not the goods, not the schoiro, and therefore you pulled that, nothing happened. And he took them. The money changer took them, done deal. Of course, you have to verbally explain before. I want this, I want that. You have to verbally agree. But once it was Mashiach of the Canadian dollars, it's like your Mashiach, a bag of potatoes, which means Mashiach was done, Canadian was done. That's Begadol. Again, Allah Lamaisa may change today. You may come to me with different things from Dayanim, because, financial things are very flexible in Allah. But conceptually, this is definitely the case. From what we see in the Gemara and the simplest of Shulchan Aruch, yes. To the message. Tighter. Story time. Ve'af Reb Chia comes the Gemara now to suggest Reb Chia also thought Dahava Tiva Havi. Again, Rabbi Chia, don't give up so easy on young Rebbe. Rabbi Chia, the uncle of Rav, yeah, and Rebbe's friend, Rabbi Chia, he also thought that what? That gold is the currency, not like the Mishnah. Gold being more expensive, being more of a dear kind of metal, is the currency and not the merchandise, vis-a-vis silver. How do we know? From the following story, although we're going to reject it, but this is how we now understand the following story. The Rav, story time. Rav Oizif Dinori, Rav borrowed dinorim of silver. Excuse me. Oy vey voy, no, mapidon, gold, I know. Gold. No, the dinar kesef, dinar zov. Yes. 100%. That much I know. Lo mashane. Rav borrowed dinar zohov from who? Mibate de Rab Chia, from the daughter of Rab Chia. What was Rab Chia's daughter towards Rav? She was his cousin. Rab Chia was Rav's uncle, as is mentioned in Psachim Daf Daled, in Sanhedrin Daf Hey. Yeah, we see that Rab Chia was the uncle of Rav, so Rav had to borrow money from his female cousin, from his bat dod. Lesoif, you know what happened? He had to return her those golden coins. Aiku dinori, the golden coins from the golden Medina, they became more expensive. They went out in price. Yeah, they went online. They saw what? Gold coins are now worth more. Yeah. Akadinori, they had a filter in the internet. Also, Rabbi Chia, he didn't know what to do. He was concerned about the prohibition of ribith. In other words, he borrowed from her gold coins that were worth X amount of silver coins, silver dinorim. Now, all of a sudden, they're worth more silver dinorim. Yeah, that happens all the time. You borrow $100, right? And they're worth how much? 350 shekels, whatever. And when you give them back, you know, they're worth 370 shekels. Am I allowed to give back the same $100? Don't pass them, please, okay? It's a question of Rav. Yeah, the actual currency became more expensive. Am I allowed to give her back, or do I have to give her back less? What do I do? Also, he went to her father, which is his uncle. Don't ask that he was a relative. Rav accepted whatever he said. Rav accepted, you know, her father's psak, even though he was the father of the lender, of the female lender. Omerlei said, Uncle Poisek Rav Chia answered back, no problems. Zil shlimlo tavin v'tkilin. Go pay her tavin v'tkilin. Good money. Pay her tavin v'tkilin, like we say in Hebrew also, is proper money. Pay her back and don't feel guilty about it. There is no issue of ribis. From some reason, and we have to know why. Paid her $100 or whatever. He borrowed from her 100 dinari zohov. Give her back 100 dinars of, or however many dinars of, that are worth more now. They're worth more. There's more what? You can buy more silver with it. And yet there's no issue. Let me ask you now, let's pause for a second and get out of North Korea. Why is it really, what do you think? Why, assuming it's true, why is it really true that if I borrowed from the Gemach $100, I can give them back $100 even though the dollar is now is worth more, went up in value? Why? What do you think? How do you define it? What do you think? Why is Reb Chia right? But Lamaisa, now you can buy many more potatoes with it, and also tomatoes. This the Rabbanon. Why is it okay? I'm asking why it is okay. You're saying something, Ellen, right? Okay, it says the Gemara. Yeah, let me ask you a question. Before continuing. That's important. From now on, we have to realize a concept which you really all know. Let me ask you a very, very simple, childish question. I'm really not into the world of finance. Yeah, when you go to the shop on Friday, and you or your wife, you go to the shop on Friday, and you see a kilo of tomatoes, and they're worth 10 shekels. Very nice. Then following week, you say, what? You see that the same tomatoes are worth what? Next week are worth 15 shekels. What's your initial reaction? Do you say, oh dear, you come home, oh dear darling, the tomatoes are more expensive? Or do you say the shekel became cheaper? Honestly, you obviously say, everybody says in the market, even the most philosophical chacham in money, he's not going to say the shekel is cheaper. That's not it's not how we talk. It's not how we view things. We view things as a shekel is a shekel. It's the same shekel. It's the same some chiloni from 100 years ago printed on the star. It's the same thing. Elamai, the tomatoes and the potatoes and the computers and the other currency, became, or the gold which I want to buy, they became cheaper, more expensive. Aha. Says the Gemara, now we're on track. Explains the Gemara. What's the Gemara trying to prove now? That the money, the currency is gold. He borrowed from his cousin what? Gold. Says the uncle, give back gold, no problems, no guilty conscience. My name is Rabbi Chia, I know my stuff, and can give her the same amount of gold coins, although they have more, what you call it in English? Buying power. But it's the same golden coins. Zok the Gemara. Now we're on track. If you say Havi, if you're going to tell me that he views gold as the matbeya, as a currency, shapir, then it's good. Because money never becomes expensive or cheap in halacha. Money is the measuring rod. Money is the money. It's the same George Washington. It's the same Hannah Senesh. It's the same money. You can buy more or buy less. And therefore makes sense. You borrowed 100. That's what you meant, Ellen, right? I'm always very harsh with you. Yeah, in other words, you borrowed 5 dinars of, give back 5 dinars of. They don't really change in value as of themselves. They did become expensive 1 minute. But if you want to tell me that golden coins are just a merchandise in the market, like the tomatoes, potatoes, socks, and shoes, oh, then it's not so simple already. We're coming to the whole story here. If you want to tell me that gold coins are a merchandise in the market, yeah, like you wanted to say in our Mishnah, like old Rebbe, then something here doesn't work right. Why? Because let me surprise you, actually not surprise you, because we spoke about it once. If I borrow from my neighbor, Me'ikra Adin, don't fall off your chairs, please. If I borrow from my neighbor, Me'ikra Adin, wait till the end. If I borrow from a neighbor a bag of milk, and I give it back to my very, very nice next door neighbors, I give it back to them a week later, and the milk is worth more, inflation, anybody? Then it could potentially be a question of ribis midarabonon. In other words, says the Gemara, I'm not saying la halacha, we'll see the halacha soon, which means if you look at the gold as something that is socks, shoes, merchandise, then to take something worth gold that is worth that amount of what? Of silver dinarim, give it back when it's worth more silver dinarim, then the gold itself is worth more. Like the tomatoes and potatoes became expensive. You look at it as a piece of something in the shop, in the market, so it became more expensive. And there is an Isser D'Rabbanan called Sa B'Sa, which means if I borrow from you, and even if I tell you before giving it back, and I say, listen, I'm short of grains now, of wheat, yeah, of a ton of wheat, please give me a ton of wheat, and then I'll give you back a ton of wheat. It's a big problem in halacha of Sa B'Sa D'Rabbanan. It's like ribis, even though it's not, yeah, but it's like a loan, and the loan did become, the return is worth more. It smells too much like ribis. Before Mishnah, that's not allowed. So how did Rabbi Chia allow that? Now, as an aside, shall I get nervous when I give back my friend, my neighbor, a bag of milk or a loaf of bread in times of inflation? Says the Rama, I don't know for Sfardim, says the Rama, it's okay as long as we talk about small things that people are not makpid. In other words, when it's a bag of milk or a bag of rice or or some loaves of bread, because the fluctuation is not that high, these are small items, yeah, and inflation is not so crazy, then probably the person is not makpid either way. If now the bag of milk is worth a shekel worth or more. However, if you're a big soicher, if let's say you are a wholesaler of wheat, today they also exist, yeah, and you need quickly to provide the bakery or whatever, yeah, and you're short of it and you borrow and you don't say, I buy. If you say, I buy off you and I'll pay you, that's okay. But if you say, I'm borrowing from you a ton of wheat and I'll give you back a ton of wheat, and then that's already osur, because the ton of wheat is very likely to be worth more, and then it will be really spread. Okay? But we are now trying to prove, let's not lose focus. We're trying to prove here, from the fact that the golden coins of the cousin could go back the same amount of golden coins, yeah, even though they buy more, and that's okay, must be the golden coins are money, because money is never called worth more. Yeah, it's the items that are worth more. But if you say that gold is an item, it's like the shoes and the socks and the computers and the tea in the market, then yeah, then it went up in price. How can he just give it back to her like that? Answers the Gemara, and then you'll be able to talk. Rav answers the Gemara, no. There's another side reason, says the Gemara, why there's no issue of ribis. Nothing to do with us. So coming from left field, could be really, there is an issue of ribis. Because could be really the Mishnah is right. Old Rebbe is right. Gold, is merchandise. And yes, there could be issue to take gold and give back gold, which is worth more. So why is there an issue here? Says the Gemara, Rav dinaro havilei. When Rav borrowed from her, let's say a 50, whatever, dinars of, he had 50 dinars of, but they were not accessible. They're in the machsan. They were being wired to him online, whatever. But something impeded him from getting it. But conceptually, he had that amount of money already by him. Maybe he wanted more, but he had that. So what? The kevan de havale dinori, because at the time of the loan when he borrowed from her, he had dinarim equivalent amount. Nasa ke'oimelo, it's considered as if he told her, Alvini ad she'avoy bni or ad she'emtza mafteach. Says the Mishnah later on. There is another kula for the one who wants to borrow wheat and give back wheat, even in big amounts with big differences. Let's say I am a big shot wholesaler of what? Wheat, let's say, and I have a ton of wheat by me, but I want to borrow another ton of wheat. The ton of wheat that's in my machsan, but I don't have the key. Emtza mafteach. Oi, where's the key? I forgot the code. My son has to come with the key. I have some side reason why technically I can't reach it, but the etzem, I keilu already returned the loan. Says Rashi something brilliant. What's the concern? I borrowed from her, let's say, a ton of wheat, which is worth, I don't know, 10,000 shekels, whatever. And then when it will come back, it will be 12,000. No. But if I say I borrowed from her a ton of wheat, right? And in my machsan, I have wheat, the wheat that became expensive and eventually became 12 was keilu all the time in her possession or in his possession of the, yes, because he has security there. It's there. It's not a joke. It's not a kombina. It's there in the machsan. It's just being locked up. Terrorists locked it up. Mimela, that's ad kidekach rabbanon, not machmir, because all things are rabbanon. So that's why there's no issue of ribis, because of the side reason. The Rab had golden coins by his possession, and those golden coins keila were returned to her. He sent her a screenshot. Here are the gold coins that just happened to be in the machsan, and I forgot the code. I just don't have it. I don't have the key. Mimela, conceptually, she already has it, the gold coins. So when he gives it back to her with a more expensive price, it's not really called anything new. It's been by her all the time, Kilu. You can say Kilu and ask a question because it's the Rabbanon, says Rashi. Rabbanon are not machmir ad kedeka. Rabbanon can be machmir as much as they want or be makel as much. Fine. Question time. Weiter. So, okay. It's not so clear online, but remember Saddam Pap. That's a sign. That's the way to remember. One sela, we're talking about currencies, yeah. One sela is worth 4 dinar, and this is dinar of silver. 1 dinar is worth 6 ma'al, yeah, and 1 more is worth 2 pundion. 2 pundion, each pundion is worth 2 isar, and each isar contains 8 prutos. There are really many more, but these are the main ones, yeah. And that's like one of those things you learn as you go along. So sela is the shekel, the oraisa of the Torah. Let's now go into the next attempt to prove the point of young Rebbe. Okay, Omar Rove says Rove, hi Tana, the following Tana. Soval, the Tana which I'm going to quote now, which is part of it is the Mishnah Nedius, a part is the Tosefta. This following Tana thinks Dahava Tiva Havi. He also believes, unlike our Mishnah, and yes, like young Rebbe, the what? That Zohov, gold, is the currency. That's the running currency more than silver. The Tanya. We're going to bring 3 different things that to do with value of money. The third one will be the proof. So wait patiently. The Tanya, it says in the Brisa, Bruta Shomru. The pruta that they mentioned where? Many places in Shas. The most important one is when you mekadesh a woman. Yeah, you mekadesh a woman and you don't know how much the ring has to be worth. 1 pruta is good enough for kiddushin, according to Beis Hillel. That pruta that's mentioned all over, how much is it? Echad mishmoina be'isar italki. It's an 1/8 of the isar italki. Look at that. Pruta. Yeah, there are 8 prutas in isar, in an Italian isar. I don't know what are we gaining by giving it the name of another coin. I guess the Isa was more famous, more accepted, more in the shuk, right? People don't deal with prutas. So now you know how much is a pruta would always be however much isar you have. Pruta would always be an eighth of that. The mind of kamina, who cares? We're learning finances here. Says the Gemara, like I told you, lekidusha isha, big enough kamina, eshes ish. Yeah. In other words, if you give a lady less than an eighth of a isar haitalki, then she'll tell you, get out of here, go to Italy, not to me. Or even if she accepts it, she's not an eshes ish, right? Because it's less than a pruta, so she's not mikudeshes. That is the side point. Isar, how much is Isar? Rabbi Isar. Yeah, Rabbi Isar, what about him? Echad me-24 b'dinar shel kesef. Make the cheshbon. Dinar, yeah, times the 6 times 2 is 12. And 12 times 2 is 24. Can you see the magic? 6 to 2 is 24. So it says here that you're not happy about it. Isar is a 1/24th of dinar shel kesef. Very nice. You should know Isar is 1/24th of dinar kesef of a silver dinar. What's the problem? It's a 2. That's a 2 and that's a 2. 6 times 2 is 12. And 12 times 2 is 24. So between dinar kesef, yeah, and Isar, there are 24. 6, yeah, more pundion Isar is 24. Of course, that's what Chazal decided. That's a standard. That's all vort. Okay, let's get there. Yeah, are you making fun of me? 1 minute. You'll get to the nafkamina now. Lemay nafkamina. Who cares? Who cares halachically if an isar is 1/24th of dinar or 1/26 of my grandma's dinar? Well, what's the story? Says the Gemara, lemekach umemkar. Oh, here we have to see Rashi and Tosfos. Mekach umemkar. Rashi says mekach umemkar means what? That you should know that an isar is always 1/24th of the dinar, which means what? If let's say somebody, let's say gives you more or less, let's say somebody exchanges dinner to isar, and he gave you underpriced you or overpriced you, you should know that sometimes you are cheated and the deal is not a deal. Yeah, that's the going rate. Frank Tosfos, Rashi, what are you talking about? Things change. In the times of the Gemara also. It's like saying, dollar against shekel is, I don't know, yeah. They want to tell me that's a set thing. It changes every day. It changes every minute, I think, yeah. So Mimela says Tosfos already then, how can you make such a cut in stone, such a set in stone statement that an Isar is always 1/24th? Look at Tosfos inside. Tosfos the Ramaschil Lemekach Umemka. This is worth looking inside. All Tosfos really are. Tosfos, it's the middle Tosfos in the page. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth Tosfos. Lemekach Umemka. Here's Rashi. Tosfos quotes Rashi. Kedavkoi. Shimocher Lodina. If somebody sold your dinar, and he, instead of 24, told you more than 24, is overpricing. How is overpricing called in halacha? Oy no. Nisano lokeach. So now the lokeach can take umbrage and say, you cheated. If the difference in price is less than shtus, then it doesn't make a difference. If it's shtus, it's whatever, it's yachzir. It's already, I can cancel the deal. Yeah, you can't say it's a done deal because it's a lie. Yeah, you overpriced me. Very nice. The kosher, Frek Tosfos and Rashi, how can it be so, set in your ways? What do you mean? Does even in the Zoli story, sometimes the Isorim become cheaper, right? So if the Isor is cheaper, means what? You can get really more Isorim for the dinar. Why are you calling the guy a Ganev? He's not a Ganev. That's really the going rate. The Isorim became worth less. So Mimeli can buy, let's say, more shekels for $1. So that's not a lie, just a change in the market. As we say in Kiddushin also, says Tosfos, answers Tosfos, that's anir leforish. Listen to this, interesting. Let's say a person, they close the deal, I'm selling you this table and chair for 24 isorim, oh, let's say the normal suggested price to the customer, so to speak, is what? 24 isorim per dinar. So now we're working both ways. And what happened later? Later on, really, 1 dinar became worth more against the Isarim. Now you can get 32 Isarim for dinar. Yeah, they got cheaper. You can't say, no, we are set on 24 Isarim, and that's what I'll give you. You can't say, listen, the Isarim are 24, that's what I owe you. I now, what? Even though we closed on a dinar, I'll still give the old price of the dinar. It's like I owe you $100, they're worth 350 shekels, and later on they're worth 370. I'll say, no, I'm paying you 350. No, we don't go by that because we go by the dollar, right? Get it? Yeah. And therefore we go by the dinar, which is worth 24 then, and now is worth 32. The dinar is the one that stays, and the Isarim are the one who changed. Ella, what should we give him? Italo dinar kesef olamid basis soin. Get it? No. I owe you $100. I want to pay in shekels. You say, okay, very nice. But if dollar is the one spoken about, and the dollar is more choshev than the shekel, then we say, then it was 350. Then wait a second. Now it's worth 370 shekels. You can either give me now $100 or give me 370 shekels. Not in a loan. That could be a problem. In a sale. Yeah, that's what's happening here. That's good for the vote. When there are fluctuations in the market and changes in the price, the big one that doesn't change, meaning in this case the dinar lo'olam oimedes. The dinar is the one that stays, and the dinar then was 28, now 32. Give him a dinar or give him 32, because the same dinar which we spoke about then when we spoke after 10 to 8, now it's 32. Give me now 32 little ones if you want, or give me the dinar. That's a heck of a chiddush. Works very well with the market, and that's a chiddush of the brisa, which is definitely a chiddush. You go by the big coin, not by the small one. Bagadol. Yeah, he was the second before you, remember?
Isn't the Saraya that I borrow a kilo of potatoes?
No borrowing. Ellen said again something very nice. In this case, dinar is the money, which doesn't really become expensive or cheap. And the moist, the little ones, these sarim, yeah, which are cheaper and probably less accepted, they are like the merchandise. You got it, man. You got it. Now we come to the main part of the story. Now we are recorded, people. Now we are to the third case. The third story here is about the beautiful Jewish minhag of Pidyon Haben. How much are you supposed to give a kohen? Yeah, for the Pidyon Haben, as you told me yesterday, and as I did, 5 sloim. 5 sloim are 5 shekels, not the 5 shekels we have today. Yeah, 5 sloim, very nice. However, let's see the story here. Now, the third statement is dinar shel kesef, 1 dinar of kesef, okay. Echad me-25 b'dinar shel zov, as Ellen said yesterday, 1 dinar of silver, yeah, 1 dinar of silver is 1/25 of dinar zov. Dinar zov is way more expensive than dinar kesef, yeah, which means for 1 dinar of zov, you can buy 25, wow, dinarim of kesef. Why so much the difference, says Tosfos? Answers Tosfos, I don't have time to see it inside at all. We don't have time now. And you know which country we're in right now, very much there. Now, dinar of zov was not only more expensive, as it always is, it was also twice as thick. That's how dinar zov were made. You told me a very nice story about European currencies. We don't have time now, but it would be very interesting to hear what you say. The dinar zahav is twice as thick, and that's why it's just more expensive in quality and quantity. Now, let me cut through the chase and tell you, when we translate the shkolim, yeah, the shkolim to dinarim, one shell is worth 4 dinar. So how many dinarim do you have to give the kohen? 20. Do you know that 4 times 5 is 20? Yes, even I know that. So thank you. I always need encouragement. If you were there in Kita base, you know things would be different today. If somebody had to encourage me. The kids are, yeah, the dinar, how many dinar kesef do you have to give Mr. Cohen if you want your baby b'chor back, so to speak? You have to give him 20 dinar kesef. Let's say I don't have dinar kesef, I'm a fancy guy, and I just like to keep my wallet cool and small. I gave him 1 zahav dinar. He owes me back 5 dinare kesef. Clearly, I gave him 1 dinar zahav, right? Meaning 25 dinar kesef. I owe him 20 dinar kesef. Yeah, so he owes me back now 5 dinarim of kesef. Lemainaf Kamina says Gemara Lepidyon Ben. So far, it seems like mathematics of Kita Aleph. What's the Chiddush over here? Oh, it's a Chiddush. Ooh, it's a Chiddush that's going to turn around everything you ever knew about Pidyon and Ben money. Frag the Gemara. Now the Gemara is trying to prove what? Don't lose your eyes on the ball. What did we say? We're trying to prove here that really the money is the gold. Gold is the money, and not silver is the money. Like young Rebbe, not like our Mishnah. Yeah, not like the Halacha. Iyamart bishlama. If it what? Nice. Oh, money doesn't change. What changes? The tomatoes or the other currency, which is not really currency, the goods, the merchandise. If you're telling me that gold is coin, gold is coin, of course it's a coin. It's currency, it's halachic money, vis-a-vis silver. And what these guys are doing, Mr. New Excited Father and Cohen, what are they exchanging here? Gold and silver. Ooh, that's the hot topic of the day. If you tell me that gold is really the tiva, the money that doesn't change, the value doesn't change, it's only the silver that changes comparing to the gold, because the silver is like the tomatoes in the market. Then the Tana is telling me, look, I have a set standard over here, something katzutz, something set, something clear, cut, which means, as Rashi and the other Shonim, unbelievable chiddush. You know they're telling me? You know these 5 nice silver coins you see in Pidyon and Ben? They don't always have to be 20 they don't always have to be 5 sela, which is 20 dinar. They always have to be 4/5 of the gold. Sometimes it can be more than 5 slime, sometimes less. We're basically taking a huge chiddush here, and we're saying that the 5 slime of silver are not always 5 slime. The 5 slime, assuming that we have the standard of they are always worth how much? 4/5 of the dinar zov. But if, let's say, dinar zov became, all these examples, all of them contains more. Let's say now 1 dinar zov contains, let's say, 15 of them. Wow, 15 dinar kesef. How many dinar kesef do you have to give the coin? 10. No, 4/5. No, give, yeah, whatever, 4/5. Yeah, don't get the numbers. Yeah, 60. Right, of course. Yeah, in other words, you always have to 4/5, regardless, or even less. You always have to give 4/5. Let's say only worth 5, you only have to give 4, right? So that's a big chiddush. We really set ourselves on one. Yeah, let's say we decide when we start a company or a chesed or something, we decide that we freeze today's currency of dollar and shekel, and people always get paid 2/3 of the dollar. Let's say something like that. Then it's a chiddush. Oh, now the Mishnah is telling me something new and true. But but if you're telling me that the gold is fruit, then it's absolutely not the standard, right? If you tell me gold is like you want to say as a merchandise, what are you setting? Then it's either irrelevant or not true to talk about what? To compare the silver to the zav. What difference does it make, b'chaim shelcha? You're only giving me silver and that's it. He gave him golden coins. Give him back as much change as needed. As the Gemara says, why is it Tana Mishair giving me the ki'ilu, the standard, is something that changes all the time? It's like telling you know how much money you owe me, like the tomatoes in the market. What? Tomatoes in the market change every second. What kind of talk is that? Zimne de mader lekahana. Sometimes the coin will give him change. Zimne moisif leyu lekahana. Sometimes he gives back the money to the coin. In other words, you're teaching me kita aleph math over here. What are you teaching me over here? Avada. If at the end of the day all I care about is what is the silver is the real thing that doesn't change. I gave him golden coin. It's a technical thing. So give him as much. Be Mr. There and go to Kitalif and learn how much is 25 minus 20 or whichever. Doesn't make a difference. From here we hear from here we can see no. We see that from that price it's mashma quite strongly that the one that is a set standard, that upon it we build the percentage and the relativity of the other coin. Who is the one that we set the standard by? The gold. Oh, must be gold is the currency and not the silver. Interesting. That sounds like pretty much of a good raya, and yet we don't go by that law lofa. So I wonder why. I don't know, to be honest. But we somehow don't reject it, and we go on into saying the other way. A good akasha. But Lamaisa, this maybe we just don't hold with the brisa. You know, this brisa could be like young Rebbe, but we pass him like old Rebbe, which also makes sense because the Mishnah versus brisa, Mishnah is more stronger. Maybe that's why. It's not okay. We'll stop here. Actually, time for questions. Not because I'm so nice, but because it's a new topic now, and it's 10:25. Okay. Yeah. Have a good day.